Good morning, my friends. It's Patrick Allmond from Stop Doing Nothing Media, and I'm seeing a lot of questions about the new AI Studio Builder. People coming from external platforms like Lovable and Base 44 are coming in and building really amazing things. I have to admit, even the first few projects I built, I was pretty impressed with, and I still am. But it's time to get our head right about where we are and where we are going on this. So I see a lot of people creating cool, amazing things on social media with AI Studio, but I want to make sure you have the right mindset as you're going into this. Now, I feel I'm a little bit uniquely qualified, as are several other people, when it comes to looking how things are built here, especially if you have a history of software development or coding, or you understand how typing code works. You're at a definite advantage. But for those of you who may not have a history of that, I want to show you what you're actually building and your mindset so you can prepare and build amazing landing pages that generate leads. So you can build amazing shopping cart experiences. So you can build things that you can make money with yourself or resell to your clients and make money. So what you're going to see on my screen is our training environment. And as always, I recommend, since this is a beta function, that you work inside of a training environment if you have one. And there's three things I really wanted to cover when it came to working inside of AI Studio. The first one is the mindset of this is not a page builder. Just like some of those other external tools, this is not strictly a page builder. This is a full application builder that also happens to build pages. And you'll see that I've said that several times across our fan pages and in social media groups and things like that, is you have to have that mindset. This is not a drag and drop builder like we have over in sites and funnels. You're not dragging headers, footers, columns, elements, things like that. This is doing all of the work for you, which is amazing for people that don't have any design skills like myself. But it also reminds me that the mindset of building, you have to have the right mindset, because we're all used to building either in WordPress or we're used to building over in sites and funnels or sites and websites. So the important thing to know is when you are, I'll go into one of my projects here, is when you are building this, you are building a full application, which means here at the top, for you nerds that want to see this, you can click on the little code button and you can see you're actually building files. This is different than over in sites and funnels. Here we are building CSS files, we are building TSX files. And for those of you that like to get your hands dirty in this stuff, this is great because you can literally come down here and edit one of these files. Now, most people building things are sitting over here vibe coding in the visual one, and that's fine. But just beware that there's a series of pages that your application is building and modifying. So as I like to preach to people, you are building an app. This is an application builder first, not a drag and drop page builder first. Okay. So while a tool like Canva may design pretty pages, this one you're actually building a full software application. Now your software application may just be a quick landing page or a quick home page. That's all right. That's perfectly good. None of this stuff concerns you. But for those of you who are going to build full-on applications here, it's important to know that there's files behind the scenes, and what the company is going to give us, what HighLevel is going to give us, is the ability to download these. Actually, I think we have the ability to download these now, but also to push these over to things like GitHub, where we have version control, because when you are building an application, a full software application, which is what we're building here, you want to be able to save, backup, and maintain versions of it. That's the way we work in the software development world, is by building versions on top of versions here. So it's important to know that first of all, you are building an application in AI Studio. You are not just dragging and dropping cool web page elements right here. Okay, so remember that first and foremost. And the reason that's important is my second point. Okay, I'm covering 3 points here. Here's the second point: is out of the box by default when you are building things over here, you are not instantly and automatically connected to the rest of HighLevel. So as we know, inside of HighLevel, when we use the classic sites function over here, we have forms, surveys, quizzes. We have all kinds of cool things here. And then we have stores. We have all kinds of cool things here. But these elements right now are not connected by default to anything that you build in AI Studio. So if I build a blog over here, like I was recreating a WordPress blog over here in AI Studio, by default, when I go over here, this is not going to be over in sites and blogs. It's not going to be in sites at all. And as a matter of fact, it's going to make me jump to my third point. It's to notice that when you build things here, also, actually, it's not my third point. This is maybe point 2.5. is you can't build a site over here and then just push it over here for editing, okay? When you clicked on the tool to go over into AI Studio here, if it looked like you almost left high level because this is a completely different environment, that's not exactly a true statement, but the way to think about it, we are being pushed out of the standard interface over here over into a vibe coding interface. And so you'll notice none of the same menu options or anything like that there are here, okay? But my whole point is when you are building things over here in AI Studio, by default, they don't know about things over here like forms and e-commerce or even APIs unless you explicitly build it in. Okay, that's important to know. Unless you explicitly tell the AI Studio to go to sites and maybe grab a form and connect it to what you build over here, we're going to go, here we go. I was building $1 million landing page example for you. So by default over here, when I click on apply for program, because I've built this cool high dollar real estate funnel for our company, Stop Doing Nothing, by default, you're not going to find, you can build all the pretty forms over here you want. You are not going to see those forms over in sites and forms by default. And my very first AI Studio application I built had no connection to HighLevel on the other side. The one I built today, let me put some custom fields here. And again, when I said connect this to HighLevel over here, it did not, I have no form over here matching this. What it did do, which accomplishes the same thing, is it did create custom fields. So for example, when I was down here in contacts and testing one of my testing that one I built here, I had it, if you see here when I'm over here doing lead gen, I have a current 12-month volume, biggest bottleneck to scaling. There are custom fields over here that it created as a result of that, whereas they were right down here. I think they were right down here at the bottom of this section. It created custom fields for, current volume and bottleneck right there. So what's happening is, even though you aren't seeing forms and automations over here, this is a working form. That form is taking submissions into HighLevel, and it's considered an external form. So for example, the lead gen on this right here, if you look in the lower left hand, it says external form. So it wasn't a HighLevel form. It was a custom form that was built on this page, and then the custom fields and the standard fields were pushed over to HighLevel. Okay, so that's just one thing to wrap your head around. Now, if you notice as a result, I didn't submit a form. How's my automation kicked off? Again, you got to think about that. Since it doesn't know about forms and triggers and things like that, you're going to have to build that in for now. The ability to have it natively built in, there are some tricks you can do, and more of that integration is coming. Form integration, survey integration, e-commerce. We're always on the skateboard model or the car model, as Varun says now. And so some of that functionality is coming, but it's not there by default. So while you're over here building really cool, pretty things, you've got to remember that you are going to have to do some integration work to get it to work with all the things we're normally used to working with at HighLevel. And what triggered this whole thing today is I saw somebody online posting about they had created an e-commerce store and now they wanted people to be able to buy things and check out. Look at here. We have a cool Stop Doing Nothing watch store that I've created in the past half hour, and I've got my cool luxury watches on here. You can go down into details and see the pricing and do the whole shopping cart thing where I add it to my shopping cart. Yeah, I added to my shopping cart right there. Look at this. This is all kinds of cool stuff you can do here. But right now, this has no idea and no ability to do a checkout over here in sites and sites and stores up here. So this has no connection to, look, I don't even have a store over here. So by default, even though I built a cool e-commerce site here because we can use AI Studio to build anything, there's no connection over here. I know that's all coming, okay? So this is not a doom and gloom video. This is just to make you aware that when you're building all this cool stuff over here that you may want to integrate with HighLevel, you may have to manually set up your API connections with your keys. You may have to manually make a database connection. If you've seen one of my previous videos or previous images, I have decent tech skills. I was easily able to connect HighLevel over to Supabase, and so basically have a database-backed website over here, e-commerce site. You're going to have to build all that in as of right now. Okay, no doom and gloom, but just know that, again, I just want to really emphasize, when you're building forms and e-commerce over here, you may have a little bit of extra work to connect it over here. And if you're not someone who's highly technically savvy or familiar with API integrations or shopping cart integrations, just plan in your projects to either hire a team to do this for you or to give yourself extra time. Now, fortunately, in the world of prompting over here, we can make a prompt to do anything. The way I got my experiment, my Supabase experiment done, is I just gave it the right prompts and eventually it connected over to my external database. Okay? The last thing I want to emphasize to you, and this was another issue or a common issue I see people having, is I saw someone said, I built a funnel over here. I built a funnel over here and I had a fully working funnel on a domain. Let's make sure this one's on a domain. Yeah, so I built a fully working funnel over here in a domain. Here's my domain, training.sdn.one.com. And now I want to deploy my e-commerce site, my publish up here. I want to connect the domain up here and use that same domain. So I want mydomain.com/page1 to be over in sites and funnels, and I want mydomain.com/page2 to be my AI Studio generated site. You cannot do that. A domain or a subdomain either needs to be connected over to the typical high-level side or to the vibe coding side. Now, of course, you have subdomains. You can have a subdomain 1 connected to one and subdomain 2 connected to the other. But by default, if you have, say, your white label domain, if your white label domain you have over here connected to something over here in sites and funnels, then you cannot connect that same white label domain, just the root domain, you cannot connect that to a vibe coded project over here. So if I had a patrickwatches.com/funnel over here, I cannot use patrickallmond.com for my funnels over here. Again, a quick recap. Whenever you're over here building, remember that you are building a full application, not just a website. And full applications have lots of code and lots of behind the scenes stuff going on. And shout out to my friends in the community who are old school coders that know how this stuff works. So there's all kinds of cool stuff. And like I said, I've already been able to go to files and find details of what I want to do and modify these there, which is really helpful when doing things like API connections or connecting to some kind of external service. The second point I wanted to remind you is that none of this stuff, forms, e-commerce, connect over to the high level side automatically. There is going to be some work. Okay. And the third one is you can use a domain or a subdomain in one or the other, but not in both. And you can use a root domain in one side and a subdomain in the other side. So hopefully this has been helpful. Let me know by comments below what I may have missed or misstated. I think I got most of that, but I made this video because I see so many people building so many cool, amazing things. And then at the end, I spent a week or several hours. And then at the end, they're like, okay, I don't see this over in my high level funnels. How do I get my integration going? And that's where all the real work comes. So while you may spend an hour or two coding something cool over here, be prepared for some more time on the back end to actually get it fully integrated. Hopefully this helps. Have a great day.